Cities Skylines 2 is in trouble. In just under 3 weeks, it's lost 70% of its player base. Performance issues? Check. Simulation issues? Check. Modding issues? Check. The question then is, can Cities Skylines 2 actually be saved? While Cyberspunk and No Man's Sky offer us tales of redemption, there are many games that never rekindle what was once promised, like getting back with an ex-girlfriend only to find she has an STD. So buckle into your seats, grab yourself a cuppa, and let's have a mass debate on the future of Cities Skylines 2. In our review, we gave Cities Skylines 2 a 4 out of 10, with more problems popping up than a game of whack-a-mole. First off is the performance. It's like trying to teach a three-legged cat to dance. Patches and hotfixes have been flying in, but it seems the game is still crawling along once you start hitting a medium-sized city. Games Nexus, a channel that's been around for 14 odd years, has tested more games than I've had pints, and they called it one of the worst optimised games they had ever tested. That's a proper kick in the swinging danglies, and it doesn't get more brutal than that. And then there's the infamous blog post by, I believe it's pronounced Paveholt, that gets recycled and quoted by all the big publications. They reckon Cities Skylines 2 is trying to juggle more polygons than a circus act, and the Unity engine is having a tough time keeping up. A drunk bloke down the pub could see that Unity wasn't up for the grand challenge here. Colossal Order, in all their wisdom, sent out a guide to paying customers saying, "Oi, just turn off some of these fancy graphical settings and your game might run better." Can you believe that? You're shelling out hard-earned cash for a fully fledged game and they're telling you to play it like you're using a Pentium 3 processor. Now, when I do reviews, I like to double check I ain't talking completely out my own arse, because sometimes things change quickly once a video goes up, for better or worse. I admit, small content creators like this channel are rarely right. We just put a view out there to our dear fan base and let you decide if you agree or disagree with the content. Some comments on the review, however, said that Reggie was the issue, that my top-notch 4080 setup was off kilter. Well, slap me with a wet fish and call me Jan, because even after applying all the hotfixes and patches, the game is still wheezing like an asthmatic tortoise, especially when your city hits 50,000 plus people. And get this, turning off graphical settings ain't the miraculous fix they're selling you. I tested this at 1440p and it's downright bonkers that they're telling customers to play spot the difference with their settings. It's like they're saying, yeah, the game's a bit fucked in it, just pretend it's a blurry old photo from your nan's attic and you'll be golden. I mean, come on people, it's 2023, not the Victorian era. No one is denying the right for patches to fix up games when it's released in a relatively decent state. No one expects perfection, but this is at times an unplayable mess unless you start dropping the resolution way down. But it's not just the performance issues that make Cities Skylines 2 unravel like a cheap suit. Where do we even start with this carnival of chaos? The traffic AI they promised would be smart and use all the lanes like a proper motorist. Well, guess what? It's true, they do use all the lanes, but the snag is, when they come to a turn-in or an off-ramp, the cars suddenly decide to play a game of chicken, causing traffic jams regardless, as they cut in at the very last moment like a twat on a roundabout. That ain't smart AI, it's just same as before, but instead, cars now make their turn at the end of a lane versus the beginning. And then there's the services as well, bin men, taxis, hearses, all having a proper meltdown. No matter how many of these blokes you chuck into the mix, the problems still persist. It makes you wonder if the simulation itself is having a laugh at your own expense. Some keen-eyed bloke on Reddit laid bare just how the industry and commercial zones aren't actually working together, and questioned whether it's all just a fake economy. Now, fair play where it's due, Colossal Order did respond, saying fixes are on the way, but let's be real here, this ain't a functioning economy, it's more like a dodgy second-hand car. Whether it's a case of a fundamental issue in the simulation, or whether it's just simple bug fixes that need releasing, the fact of the matter is, the simulation itself is not working as intended. Some diehard fans might stick around for the fixes, but the player numbers are sinking faster than a pint in the hands of an alcoholic. And I've only scratched the surface here. You don't need a magnifying glass to find more problems, and a quick peruse on the Reddit forum forums will show you just how many issues there are, and they are too vast to mention in this video. The simulation then, it needs patching fast, but with the performance issues hogging the spotlight, Colossal Order is trying to juggle greased up bowling balls. Prioritising these issues is a pain in the arse, and it's making fans wonder if sticking around is even worth it when the original Cities Skylines, with all its modding and DLC, is still a fantastic city builder. It's incredulous to me that they thought it would be okay to release it in this state and had the balls to warn us a week prior to launch that their benchmark target hadn't even been met. But they would charge full price as a 1.0 release regardless. The utter audacity of it. And the misery don't stop there. Since release, things have gone from bad to worse. Modding won't be available for several months as they're dedicating everything they can to fixing up the mess. Big delays have been slapped on the much touted DLCs, all so that they can focus on the main fixes. This means the same repeating assets of buildings are here to stay. And brace yourself, they've announced no more small hotfixes. We're getting much larger patches instead. Now, I reckon this is actually the right call, but it means the broken state of the game is going to linger around like a fart in an elevator. You're basically relying on the goodwill of paying customers to hang around. Otherwise, the game is deader than a dodo. Let's be real here, they're asking PC players to be beta testers so that they can mad rush this out for console release, which I personally still feel is up for another big delay. So let's dive into the numbers, and we're grabbing these exclusively from Steam charts, so take them with a pinch of salt as they're only indicative of the wider picture. Look no further than Space Kerbal Program 2 to get some insight of what potentially is going to happen here with Cities Skylines. This was a right disaster of an early access release. It's got a measly 240 daily players now, down from its peak of 12,000. The original Kerbal Space Program has more players, sitting with around 2,500 daily astronauts. Talk about faceplant. Now, Cities Skylines, the OG base game, is still standing strong with daily players averaging around 14,000 give or take. That's not far off from the 22,000 plugging away at Cities Skylines 2. The facts speak for themselves, people. It's on a nosedive and it continues to fall. But Reggie, let's not get all doom and gloom just yet. You see, Cyberpunk shows what's possible a few years after release, and No Man's Sky proves what can happen when a developer buckles down and makes things right. In its early days, No Man's Sky couldn't put in more than 2,000 daily players, getting roasted for missing out on its much touted promises. But now, well, it's clocking in 7,000 to 8,000 daily players, spiking dramatically with each free patch. So, Cities Skylines 2 ain't totally dead, because there's plenty of room for improvement, of course. It all depends, though, on how much resolve Colossal Order has here. We could be staring down 18 months of hard graft to get this ship shape, and Paradox Interactive might be getting a bit nervy about keeping the investment strong if the returns don't back it up. It's one for the money men to sort out, but they only have themselves to blame here for launching it in this state. As Gabe Newell recently said last week, late is just for a little while, suck is forever. So where does that leave Cities Skylines 2? The problems at hand need more than just a few patches, I'm afraid. We're talking about monumental fixes to get this anywhere near the standard it deserves, and that's gonna take time. My view might be a bit more of a pint half empty than the pint half full, in that they've made such a dog's dinner of this launch that for my money, the horse has already bolted. We're living in an era of subscription gaming, where the pick up and play nature of our hobby is as common as dumping a game and moving on quickly to the next. Gamers rarely give a set and go months later, and I'm not talking about the loyal fan base who'd support Colossal Order even if they stole their child's pocket money. This is about the more casual gamer, the ones who might have given it a whirl but are already on to the next big thing. Don't forget, people coughed up full bloody price for this game. We were sold a game that wasn't there. Content creators didn't spill the beans on its issues and the performance problems. Frankly, we were sold called a lie by a marketing campaign that, towards its release, was unrelenting in pushing fake narratives out of where this game truly was. Why? Because they wanted your money, knowingly selling a game that was so messed up in its execution, and sometimes the bitterness that flows from that can never truly be recovered. I'm only saying how it is because too many content creators have turned a blind eye here, and that doesn't sit right with me. If SimCity can fail, then Cities Skylines absolutely can follow suit. You may think I'm a hater, but I can assure you all, I've never done a video where I wanted to be proved more wrong in all my life. Until next time, my lovelies, Reggie out.